Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. First, thanks for visiting my channel. I appreciate you coming here. If you'd hit the like button before you leave, that would make a great deal of difference to me. And if you like what you find here, why don't you subscribe to my channel? It's growing. I'm putting about 2 to 3 videos out per week and lots of regular content updates. So I wanted to give a special thanks to my new patron, Warren E., as well as all my existing patrons over at Patreon. Thank you. I appreciate your support, and I don't know how to thank you for that. So if you're interested in doing that, check out my link to Patreon in the video's description. If you don't want to commit to a Patreon membership, you can also tip me with a Buy Me a Coffee link up at the top right-hand corner of the YouTube page. So not necessary, but appreciated when you do. So today, I think I'm going to make kind of a cool little pendant. It reminds me of, I think it's from the Twilight Zone way back when, or one of those kind of those episodic sort of weird shows like that. And at the beginning, it had this spiral made out of squares, and so I thought I'd do something with the offset squares to make a pendant. Okay, and then I picked a stone out. Actually, it's a stone we pulled out of one of my wife's old pieces of jewelry that she doesn't wear very much anymore. And it's a little peridot, a little square peridot. So, and it looks like it's about, I don't know, 6 millimeter square, roughly. So let's get started. What I'm going to do, I've changed my opinion about which stone I'm going to use for several times here, but I think I'm going to go with this one. And what I'm doing is I'm going to create kind of this spirally square thing with the smallest gauge square wire on the middle and then gradually getting bigger out here. So the materials that I'll need are some bezel for this. I think probably 3/16, 28 gauge is wide enough for this stuff, this thing. 14 gauge for the middle one, 12 gauge for the outer one, and then I didn't have any smaller than 14, so I pulled some through a draw plate. So if you've never seen that process, I'll put a link to the video I made about using a draw plate up there. So let's get going with the bezel on this one. 3/16 inch bezel. You gotta be a little careful when you're doing a stone with sharp corners like this. The corners can chip off pretty easily. Okay. Kind of pretty snug, but not so snug that you have to force it in there. So, cut it and file it and solder it, and we'll see where we're at. So a lot of times with a bezel, you can just set it over the stone and push it down over it, but I think I want to do that with this kind of sharp cornered stone. Make sure it'll fit in there. That looks pretty good. So we'll just neaten it up a little bit, and then we'll create a platform for it to sit on in here. Okay, I'm gonna use a little 18 gauge here, round. I'm just gonna put the platform in there. Kind of get it roughly the size, and then I can fine tune it a little bit. Hold it overhead like that and get an idea how close you are. That's pretty good. So you can see with just one ring, it's going to stick out a little bit at the back, so we need to make at least one more. Okay, when I do solder these in, I want to make sure that these rings are sitting flat. Probably have enough solder here. Got little pieces over here. Here. Okay. So let's flux this. Let's set it right on top of those little pieces. Use quite a bit of solder here. Because I want to file that flush on the bottom so it looks just flat. So I want to make sure we get a good solid seam all the way around. See, it looks like a little piece of wire soldered in there right now, but if I just take the file, my basket file, you get kind of a nice little square platform. Let's see how it sits now. Now the point doesn't stick out the bottom anymore, so when we go to set it, we'll just have to file this down a little bit further to where it's just over the girdle of the stone. But I think that's good for this now. So now, that's actually pretty similar to the original size of stone that I had, so I'm going to go with that. And like I said, I think I said this, I didn't have any skinny square wire, so I pulled some through the draw plate, and I'm going to use, this is kind of a guide to get how long a piece, but I'm not going to bend these into a square, because if I want to have really sharp corners, I need to solder flat ends to flat sides and then file the excess off. If you try to bend it sharply, you can do it pretty sharply, but you'll never get a nice sharp corner there. So I'm going to just cut it off and solder them together, and then we'll file them down. See, I can do it like that, and then I'll cut two that are exactly the right length for those. And find a marker here. Let's do this. Let's cut it off slightly long for both of them. So we can file it down to be just the right size. I know that's too wide, so I just need to file it down until that pink is gone. That's real close. So I use that as a guide for this one. Okay. Trick is getting it to be a square, I suppose. So let's see if we can do that. Maybe I'll do one at a time. Pretty close. I guess we'll find out when we sell it. I'll lose the other one. I don't need too big a piece of solder for these guys, so I'm just going to cut some skinnier. I did that and it moved everything out of position anyway. So, I know better than that. That's still pretty good. So now that I got that lined up, I'm just going to make a little mark on here. Just so I give me a little better chance of getting it pretty square. Let's try that. See how we're looking there as far as square. That's pretty square. Not too shabby, so I can snip these off a little bit and file them straight. Okay. Okay, now the next one up, we're going to use 14. This is 14, I think. So let's get a piece of that. Spend a little time straightening this. Human eye is capable of seeing some pretty subtle differences, so when I'm trying to do something real geometric, I always try to be really careful to get it as square as possible, or as, double check the angles. Nobody wants their piece to come out looking amateurish. People would say, he's one of them internet silversmiths. Must be. Okay. All right, I'm going to trim these ones off now. Okay. We're getting there. Now we need to use some 12 gauge for the outer one. Okay, same deal as before. I'm going to cut it a little long for two of them. There's a little burr sticking out from that. When I mention burrs, like those kind of burrs, I'm talking about little pieces of metal that are left stuck to the piece after I've been filing, that are little filing shavings. some progress now. That's the idea, basically. Let's cut these off. Okay, I'm just going to pick solder that in like that. So far, so good. That's pretty good. Mostly I was just kind of playing with the angle, trying to get it to fit in there nicely. This part, I'm going to use the magnesium block. So I just push the bezel into that. I'm going to try to get it lined up there. For the bail, I think I'm going to use this 22 gauge. I want it to be about the width of the stone. Or do I want it? Yeah, I think so. So I think I don't care if the back side is kind of rounded cornered, but I want the front side to be kind of squared off. So I'm going to make a squared off U shape out of sheet and then have a little square sheet that I solder it down to, and then I'll file it so the front side is really square. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll use this. Kind of a guide to bend it. So I just need a little square to solder it onto right there. So I'm just going to cut out a little square here. Okay, let's give this a try. So you got kind of a squared off front, even though the back is round. The rounded back will be alright because it'll be against the person's chest, so that'll probably make it a little less pokey. Really goobered up from being heated over and over again so much, so we're going to let it pickle for quite a while. Be for a bit. So I did a little drumming to clean it up a bit, and I filed down the bezel to the height it needed to be in order to set this particular stone. Oops. But I was going to show you a trick for doing pointy bezels like this that have corners on them. There's too much metal in corners, especially sharp corners, when you go to bend the top of the bezel over the girdle of the stone. And so if you thin out the corners, the thickness of the bezel there, just slightly, oftentimes that'll give you a little easier time getting those corners to lay down over the stone just a little better. Just trying to get it sitting flat in there. Now I think to start with I'm going to go right over the corners first. So this is going to be one of those videos that's a partial fail, because the stone, right as I was setting it, it spalled a piece right off the front of it. I'm going to go ahead and set it and polish it, but I'll probably try and find an alternate at some point and change it out. But we'll put this down as maybe a good design, and maybe an unfortunate incident with a stone. So you'll see, I don't even know if this is in here secure or not, but there's a big chip that came out right there, right off the top of the stone. And so this corner is way lower down now, so I'm not going to be able to get that in there neatly. And so, you know, like I said, I'll polish it up just so you can get an idea what the overall design of the pendant looks like, but I'll have to swap that stone out for something else. But overall, I'm pleased with the design in general. It's been a bad stone day, though. So, all right, I'm going to polish this and we'll take a look at it. That's what it would look like if the stone hadn't chipped. So I'll try and find something to replace that with, because I like the design in general. I think it's a success on the design, failure on the stone setting for Chad today. So I still think it's a success on the design. So I'm not too terribly unhappy. I just have to find a replacement. So, all right, thanks for watching. That was the descending square spiral pendant, I guess. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. But hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave, and please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you. Special thanks again to my patrons over at Patreon. You'll see a list of them at the end. My thanks to you know no bounds. Thank you very much. So, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Happy silversmithing. Take care.